Hey, Cassie Anderson here. Today is Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. I just finished my 29th month of topical steroid withdrawal, which brings me to week 127, day 885 of my journey. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this last month and how it's been for me. I feel like I've gained a lot of strength this last month, both physically, just my physical strength overall with my body, but also with my skin. It's not perfect, but I know that I'm getting stronger all the time. So I'm really excited to share what I've been up to. Again, this is not like my resume of busyness to share with you, just the stuff that I do in life, but rather I've always wondered when I was hearing other people's testimonies and along their journeys, what they were able to do and what was hard for them to do, that they had to stay away from. I felt like early on in the stages of withdrawal, I felt really great, but I also stayed in my little bubble that was safe, where I knew that I wasn't going to be around things that triggered flares and different things. Now that I'm further down the road, I feel like I can take a little bit more calculated risks, and I'm really enjoying doing that. So, without further ado, I'm just going to let you know some of the stuff that I've been doing. One of the things that I've really been challenging myself with lately is exercising, because there was such a period of time where I was just allowing my body to rest, and even though my diet didn't change at all, my activity level did. And I also believe that there was some side effects with the withdrawal that had me gain weight rather quickly when I started the withdrawal process. And so I've carried around some excess weight for a while. Well, I did. And then I did lose so I gained close to 20 pounds pretty quickly. And I've taken most of that off, but still have a little ways to go. But my body composition has changed. So now I'm just trying to get back into shape, get some muscle tone again, and go from there. So I've been working closely with a chiropractor, and he's been giving me some exercises and core strengthening exercises and stretches to do. And then I also started, so I do those daily. And then I've also started going to a gymnasium where I run laps. I try to get out usually every morning. I have successfully been doing this routine for about a month, all to say that this last week I did skip a few days because I worked some hardcore landscaping outside and really started working some muscles I haven't felt in a while, and so I needed some time to recover. So with that said, I started in the gym just running. I would walk 2 laps, jog 4 laps, walk 2, run 4, walk 2, run 4. And I kept doing, and I would do jumping jacks too. I'd do about 150 jumping jacks just to kind of break things up a little bit. And then it wasn't just a normal walk or jog. I was going with my 9-year-old, and he was keeping me company. And so we were throwing in imaginary hurdles that we were jumping over whenever we crossed a line. We would do high knees. We would do kind of some lunge walking. We'd do side stepping and karaoke, side grapevine kind of moves, and just had some fun with it. And all that to say, I tried to start off pretty slow just because I hadn't had an exercise program or that level of activity for a while. Now, granted, I have been working at a library for the last coming up on a year now. It's been crazy. And so I have had a moderate amount of activity with that job, but not enough. I felt like I just kind of plateaued, and so I just needed to stir things up a little bit. So with that said, that's why I need this exercise routine, and just to push myself that much further. And so I started off with only allowing myself to take it easy and jog 4 laps just to get my body acclimated to moving like that again. And by the end of the month, I'm now able to run 40 laps at a time. Super excited about that. And then that's not including warm-up laps as well. So the most I've been able to do is about 48 laps. And I do have a set amount of time that I have to run out in the morning and be back to take my kids to school. So I feel like it's been a huge success. There might be a lot of you out there that already have a walking and running program and you're like, psh, that's nothing. It's something to me. So I'm going to be excited about that. And I challenge you to, if you haven't gotten any sort of exercise regimen or walking or running regimen, I really encourage you to start small with baby steps and gradually work your way up to what you feel comfortable with. And I really do want to continue to build on the laps that I'm doing already and, eventually double that and triple that. And but I do run in a gym because I do want that controlled temperature environment, because I still find myself a little scared and hesitant to go outside during certain temperatures or inclement weather and everything, and I want to stay consistent. I don't want any excuses. And it's springtime. There's lots of excuses with rain and different things. So anyways, a big win. Other than that, I've been able to, my family did a color run, which if you're not familiar with that, it's where they have like all these color powder explosions all over the place as people run through the track or whatever, or the circuit. And people bomb you with these color bombs, and at the very end, everybody rips open like a color packet, and everybody just comes out completely rainbow colored. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to do that just because A, I'm allergic to food coloring, and B, I don't need anything irritating my skin. But I was a little hesitant about breathing that kind of powder in, because it's made with cornstarch and baking soda and powdered dye. And I just didn't know how my system would take that. And I ended up going, and I did really well while I was there. I did keep my distance, and I was the mom with the camera, taking pictures and videos the whole time. Super excited about that, and I did really well. It wasn't until afterwards where we went to an awards ceremony, like straight away. You guys, we went completely colorful. Well, I didn't, but my kids went completely colorful to the award ceremony following this run, and it was fine. All the other townspeople knew about this, and so there were some other colored people there as well, rainbow colored, And but I noticed when the kids sat on my lap and I was like breathing in the powdery stuff from their hair and their clothes, I did get a little sneezy. But other than that, I felt like I did really well, which is a huge improvement, because I've always been so extremely sensitive to different things, and it has its ebbs and flows, but a lot of times I'd have to just say no and completely avoid situations like that. So I'm excited that it was successful. I'm getting back to being a stronger, normal version of me. Another thing that I would say is a huge success is with my library job, I get to put on some tween programming. So preteens, they come to the library, and I get to put on learning programs where it's not just reading stuff, it's fun, experimental things. This last month we had rainbow magic experiments is what I called it. And so we had different stations. There were, probably 6 or 7 different stations where we did different colored food dyes with different ingredients and watched them swirl, or like capillary action or whatever. I mean, just a lot of scientific terms that I'm losing at the top of my brain right now, tip of my brain. So, but it was a lot of fun. And one of the biggest experiments that we had that I was hesitant on touching to be a part of. I just wanted to stand back, give directions, and let the kids do their thing, but I ended up getting involved in getting my hands wet with this. But we did rainbow snake bubbles, and so you take the cutoff portion of like a plastic water bottle, and that's your blowing part. But you stick like a cloth over the end of it, and you put a whole bunch of food coloring on the end of and you rubber band the cloth onto it. But you put a whole bunch of food dye, you dip it in super soapy water, and then when you blow, like a whole giant rainbow snake bubble comes out, basically. And it's really fun to do, and really you can do it in a very clean way where you're not getting your hands full of dish soap and everything, liquid dish soap. But of course, kids need help. And so, of course, there were times where I had to jump in. And then, of course, the cleanup, I was getting some soap on me, which in the past, I do not touch soap. I will not touch soap. I will do not soap cleansers. I will do very green, clean, eco-friendly, dye-free, fragrance-free versions of things, but I will not. I've had such huge flares and reactions to soap, actual soap in my life, that I have stayed away from it since I was 17 years old. And this particular day, I was challenged with, like I said, just kind of getting my hands wet, being the leader of this, program that I was putting on. And then, of course, the cleanup. And you guys, my hands did okay. My hands are not perfect, my hands and wrists. This is the last part of me to heal. So I was hesitant to, expose them to any sort of chemical ingredients or anything. Unfortunately, that wasn't my case, and they were exposed. But it didn't make my hands any worse off than they were otherwise. So I'm glad that it didn't irritate anything any more than it could have. So really grateful for that. I bounced back super fast. It's been great. We've also been able to go out to a state park. We spent the whole entire day outside. The boys were in the creek and they were getting muddy and gross and finding frogs, and then we'd go hiking and we were cooking out, and just a whole bunch of outdoor time, hours on end, and I did great. I ended up wearing sunscreen and I did okay. And the sun, the temperature, nothing bothered me. The grill smoke didn't bother me, nothing. So I feel like my body is not as sensitive as it was, and I'm so grateful for that. So praise God. And then I should also say that I have a long laundry list of things that I cannot eat, which it's been my life for a very long time. And so some people will be like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Like I can't live life or something. No, I live a really wonderful life and I eat a whole variety of food. I just don't like to eat fake food because that's where a lot of my allergies come from. I can't do artificial food dyes. I can't do a lot of preservatives and different things. And even natural food colorings I have a problem with. But, and so that would be like the organic food, anything packaged there, basically. And so I just make a lot of food from scratch. And I have a lot of seasoning allergies as well, seasonings and spices. So I'm a very plain Jane, but I eat the rainbow and I eat real food and I love it. It's amazing. All right, with all that said, there are times where I've been out and about and we've been rushed and busy and whatever, and our family wants to eat out on the road. And for years, I really honestly did not eat out at a restaurant typically because it was so hard to find something that I trusted that really didn't have anything that I was sensitive to. No matter how many times you ask the waitstaff or the cooks, there's just a type of fear that comes over you not being able to eat and knowing that you're going to flare. I mean, if you're ready and willing to flare, great, eat it, but you got to be ready for it. Anyways, I've been able to have several date nights the last several months with my husband. Super excited. We've been able to go out and I can order something off the menu and I'll still, try to say, what I want or don't want within my meal, but I'm not afraid like I used to be. And I'm not reacting or flaring like I used to as well. My old reactions used to be, it could be hives. It could be an eczema patch. It could be, the goopy, cracking eyes. It could be sinus congestion. It could be digestive issues. It could be just a patch on my leg that got itchy. It would be red, itchy ears. I mean, it just depended on what I ate and how much of it, but it always manifested in some odd way. And so it was very unpredictable and I didn't like it. And quite honestly, it didn't matter if I stuck to my list or not of things that I can and can't have. I just felt like I was so sensitive that I really, truly, honestly reacted to just about everything I put in my mouth. Another thing is that I would just sneeze like crazy. The second I go to swallow, it would just projectile right back. So even though I do have, I should say I am not perfect, you guys. I have not overcome food sensitivities by all means, but I don't react and flare like I used to. It's safer now. I'm not scared to eat. I enjoy eating, and that's a huge shift. Definitely a huge shift. There are still some times, even if I'm sticking to my diet, that I might sneeze while I'm eating. So might be some things that I'm sensitive to that I'm just not aware of. But again, it's not anything that's keeping me from enjoying my meals, being out with friends. We just went out to a cookout just last week, and I just enjoyed it. It wasn't anything I was going to get crazy about. Somebody put seasoning on the hamburgers, and I'm like, ooh, forgot to mention that ahead of time, so sorry. Like, I thought the wife had my blog and knew that, but you know what, I just said, okay, God, I'm just going to put it in your hands. I ate it, and I did okay, so it's amazing. The other win that I have to tell you about is there's a wonderful Korean lady who I've been able to work alongside for this last year with the kind of job that I have, and she loves to bring in authentic Korean food that she loves to make and bring in and say, hey, I appreciate you, thank you for all that you do, and she's wonderful, right? And she always wants to ask, how was it? And so even though I might not eat the whole thing, I will eat a portion or a small taste of it or something just so I can give her feedback. But anyways, she brought in rice cakes recently, which I'm thinking like those little hard crunchy patties that we buy at the store, rice cakes. But she had a different kind of rice cake. It was this ball, and it kind of had like this almond cookie ball in the middle, and then it was like covered with kind of like a gelatin. I don't know how else to describe it. It's kind of like a jelly layer, okay? And I thought that like she made everything from scratch, which she typically does. But this particular dish, out of all the dishes that she made, this particular dish I believe had food coloring in it, because it wasn't until my coworker mentioned, doesn't that look kind of green? Doesn't that one look kind of purple? They were very subtle, so maybe they had natural colorings, but I would bet after we sliced through these cake balls that they actually did look like they were saturated with some pretty good food dye. So that's my guess. But it was after I took a bite that was made known to me. And in the past, that would have been a huge mistake. And in fact, so many years ago when I was self-diagnosed by experimentation, knowing that I react to red and yellow food dyes and I don't eat any food coloring because those are 2 out of the 3 primary colors, I reacted so bad that my face would take 48 hours to swell at its max. It would be a whole entire week for me to work it out of my system, and my face would be swollen that whole week with red and whatever, and by the time it started going down, my face would completely peel all the skin off. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Anyways, I don't even like the thought of eating food coloring. It doesn't even cross my mind. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. And yet here I sampled this and nothing happened. So I'm really grateful for that. And I did eat a pretty good portion because I knew it was gluten-free and free of some other things, but I just didn't even think to ask about food coloring with her. So that was my mistake. But I survived. I did great. So anyways, a huge win. The other thing, a couple things that I just wanted to wrap up with. I know I'm talking a long time here, but I'm just really excited with the kind of health and strength that my body has now that I haven't been able to experience since I can remember. We went out to the Brat Fest in Madison, had a really great time. We just met up with some friends last minute. Of course, whenever there's a huge crowd going on, you always have these fragrances and food smells and smoke and whatever else is happening that's completely out of your control. And I was able to walk through the crowds. We were there for several hours through a couple different concerts and then ending in fireworks. And I did not feel 1 ounce of being uncomfortable with my skin, with any allergies, symptoms, nothing. I felt really great. And then last weekend and this weekend, so Memorial weekend, in this last weekend, I ended up being outside and ripping out weeds, doing a lot of gardening. This is huge, you guys. This is huge that I'm outside doing yard work, okay? Because I'm allergic to grass. Dirt makes me sneeze, all this stuff. And not to say that I wasn't sneezing, but my hands were holding up. I was wearing work gloves. I was getting my hands dirty. I was really getting dirty and sweaty, and it felt good. It really did. Last year when I tried to rip out some weeds and things, it was just the abrasive gloves just rubbing on my sore spots that irritated it that much more. And then, of course, I want to burn my hands with hot water and make it go away kind of thing. And usually in the past, it took probably about a week to bounce back, sometimes several weeks, anytime I'd aggravate my skin like that. But I did not have that problem with gardening at all. It was a quick turnaround. Like, I did the dirty work, I came in, I washed my hands, went to bed, didn't think anything of it. It's such a blessing to be able to feel like you can participate in life, that you can do those things, the hard work that weighs on you. You know, there's so many things around the house or outside that I've always kind of observed over the last so many months going through TSW in years, right? The last 2.5 years. That you think like, oh, I really want to do that. Can somebody else do that? Like, it's hard to always ask somebody. You just want to do it, right? But then if you do it, you have this setback. And then you're like, oh, I'm kind of glad that I did it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because this hurts, whatever. But not this time. There's still some discomfort, just naturally. I mean, that just still happens every day, but it wasn't aggravating it more than it already is. So I feel like huge win. Huge win. So yeah, very grateful for that. The other thing that I just thought of is, I know in the past, in a lot of my videos and blogs, I've talked about, doing wet chores and dishes and different things that really hurt my skin. In fact, like, I kind of look at water as I did food. I was just scared to touch it. And I don't have that with food anymore. And I feel like this last month I've kind of overcome that with water as well. In the past, I'd kind of stare at the dishes and I'd be like, I really want to wash the dishes, but I know it's really going to hurt. So, like, I'd just walk away. Or if I did them, they would just hurt, and I'd just be like, okay, are you ready? Gear up for pain, whatever. And then, it just takes a little bit of time to recuperate. It's fine, but it's one step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's kind of one of those things. And you just got to choose when and where you want to, experience that. Because, if I have to work, I'm going to spend all my working hand hours at work. When I'm at home, I might have help with my husband who he can chime in and do that. And so I'd call on him to do that so that I can save my hands for the next day when I have to go back to work, and so on and so forth. So it's just, just making sure that we're mindful of what we do and when we do them. But I know that I had this breakthrough moment this year or this month when I started doing the dishes and I was putting stuff in the dishwasher, and I'm like, I didn't even think twice about that. I just grabbed the dishes and I started rinsing and putting them away. And it was in the middle of that chore that I realized what I was doing, that I didn't have that thought and that fear of this is going to hurt. So I definitely know that I am getting better and stronger and more resilient, and I couldn't be more grateful. So let me give you a little update on my hands. This is the current status. This is my left hand. This is my right hand. For when I first started TSW, I did not have any immediate problems with the skin on my hands and wrists. It came several months in, but then it's been like probably at least 2 years that my skin has been cracked open this whole time. So because my skin has been through so many chores and different activities or whatever, and it still is closed, it's not gaped open like the Grand Canyon anymore, I'm so grateful that it's healing, it's closing, it's getting healthier and stronger. So I just wanted to give you that huge update because I know everybody's on a different timeline. Somebody could be healed in 10 months, 27 months. I'm at 29 months. There's people who have taken longer. I'm on that, track to be longer, but it's worth it. My body was poisoned for so long, and I know I'm going to probably get some comments. I'm sure they're on their way of, I can't believe you've been suffering for this long. You should have done XYZ, or you should be on this medication right now. You guys, I barely took any medications. I did right in the very beginning, the first few months, just to hold me over and to kind of troubleshoot some of the new symptoms that I was experiencing, but I didn't like how they made me feel, so I got off them very quickly. And I've tried to do this as naturally as I can, and I feel great. And I'm not judging you. You don't need to judge me. If you found something that works for you, great. I am so comfortable and confident with how I'm dealing with my journey, and I would appreciate your support and not criticism, please. The poison in my body, the steroids that consumed me for so long from the inside out, made me a very sick, chronically ill person for I don't know how many umpteen years of my life. I'm 36. I could say my whole entire life I have suffered. I would say from the age of 17 on, I really, really suffered hard. And so to be completely OCD with my diet and with my environment and always trying to find the perfect way to live so that I didn't have to be so uncomfortable and miserable all the time, it takes a lot of research, a lot of science. It's an art. It's learning yourself. It's learning, what's worked for other people and different things. I know I have a very long video. Just stick with me. This is important, right? But I do feel like I am so much better just completely withdrawing off the poison. I was up to 11 different meds at one time for allergies, eczema, asthma, and I could not kick that last one, that topical steroid, until I found Kara Ward's video and then followed with Brianna Banos's video. I'm so grateful for those testimonies, for people putting their stories out there, because without them, I never would have found the answer. I truly believe that. I feel like God just totally orchestrated those moments in time, just a random happenstance on YouTube that I came across it, and that's why I'm making my videos, so that I can create more awareness, because the more videos that are out, the more stories, the more blogs, the more social media posts, whatever it is, the more we talk, the more people are going to be more aware, and I really feel like it is our life mission to help people. So anyways, you might have a medication or some magic potion or lotion that helps you. I feel like natural supplementation and living a super healthy, green and clean lifestyle works super well for me. And I know that it takes patient endurance to overcome something that has just hurt my body for so long. And so to cold turkey that, to withdraw that, it does take time. So my all-time medication is time, okay? And again, just taking care of our bodies, taking care of the vessels that God has given us, and doing that to the best of our abilities and making those wise choices. So, anyways, all that to say, I love you guys. Even if somebody sneaks in a comment, I'm still going to love you too. But anyways, I hope you have a great healing journey. For anybody who is not a TSW warrior who's checking in on me, I totally appreciate you always keeping tabs and praying for me and my journey, and I truly appreciate it, and I've come a long way, and I'm really grateful. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.